समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
A tragedy hit India earlier today when Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister, along with his key officials and the pilots flying his plane, crashed in Baramati during a second attempt at landing. The first attempt was a go-around, which in aviation terms means that the pilots decided against landing and went around to make a second attempt. The cause for this crash is not known. Ajit Pawar was traveling in a private business jet leased from a charter company that has had a crash before in 2023. There have, of course, been political reactions of commiserations and condolences pouring in. There have also been people asking for a Supreme Court monitored investigation. It has not been a good year for Indian aviation, and this is the latest example of that. Ironically, on this very day today, in the Supreme Court, those petitioning for an independent probe into the crash of Air India 171 underscored the fact that neither the AAIB, that's the nodal body that is set up to investigate air crashes, nor the government has as yet responded to petitioners in the Supreme Court, including the 91-year-old father of Air India Captain Sumit Sabharwal, who have been asking for an independent probe. There's a lot to talk about on this day of tragedy. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. Shocking details have been revealed by the DGCA, India's aviation regulator, about what caused the crash in which Ajit Pawar, along with 5 others, have lost their lives. Mr. Pawar was scheduled to touch down in Baramati, the Pawar bastion in Maharashtra, to address some political rallies. In its first attempt, the pilots communicated that they could not see the runway. What followed was a go-around. The aircraft did not land. And then the pilots made a second attempt and this time said that they could see the runway. That was the last communication that was received from the cockpit of this plane. After that, the plane exploded. There was fire everywhere, smoke, debris. It is said that Ajit Pawar was identified by the wristwatch that he was wearing. The clock, ironically, is also the symbol of his party. What caused this plane to crash? Are we going to get to the bottom of this? Remember, this is a country that is still waiting for answers as to what caused the Air India 171 crash. And now this crash, the latest in a series of lives lost to these small plane crashes. We have seen before the CDS General Rawat go down. We have seen politicians like YSR Reddy, Jagan Reddy's father. There are many other examples, but I'm naming a few and we'll talk about the rest with our 2 very distinguished guests today. I want to bring them up now. A lot of questions to be asked, even as we mourn the lives lost. We're joined by Group Captain Dr. MJ Augustine, who's, of course, an Air Force veteran. Welcome to the program. And we're also joined by brand consultant and guru Suhel Seth, the founder of Consulage. Good to see you. It is a grim context in which we are meeting. Families are grieving. Young lives, older lives are lost. One of the co-pilots was a young woman, and seeing her all smiles image is really heartbreaking. Ajit Pawar, of course, being mourned today across the political spectrum. Group Captain Augustine, what do you make of the details that the DGCA has put in the public domain? We know that at first the pilots could not see the runway, but when you look at the CCTV footage that is available from the moment of the crash, there doesn't seem to be any fog in Maharashtra, so it's not clear why they could not see the runway. There is so much that is confusing. There is so much that is, for lack of a better word, mysterious. We need a lot more information. Group Captain.
Barkha, we have done 171 dissections together. And as we spoke about 171 and the way it is unfolding, is almost as we dissected, especially about the throttle quadrant issue. And we also talked about the crashes that you mentioned about CDS. And that time as well, we looked at facts as we saw it. And like you correctly covered, as you can see it on the TV and the CCTV footage, visibility doesn't look like a
Yeah,
possible
if you look at
scenario.
this CCTV
Yeah.
footage again, I'm no technical expert, but there doesn't seem to be a visibility issue. Now, it could be that from the air, visibility looks different than what it does at eye level on the ground. I don't fly planes, so I don't know, but you do, Group Captain. When you hear that the pilot said that the runway was not visible, firstly, if there was a go around, why was there a second attempt? It really concerns me. If there is a go around and the runway is not in a state to be landed on, why did this plane, and again, not to apportion blame at a time of tragedy, but why did this plane then just not turn back?
Good question, Barkha. So I'll cover as we progressed up to the point of visibility. Like you said, it did one go round and came in for the next approach. And after the go round, before the second approach, is my red flag. That is the Mayday call, which DGCA has put out. The pilot has announced a grave emergency. Mayday is the ultimate grave emergency the pilot announces. If you remember, the similar thing happened in 171 when the co-pilot said Mayday, Mayday. So Mayday, we don't utter that word Mayday unless we are completely sure of the fact. Can you believe it? Even if you have a single engine failure, we don't say Mayday, we say pan, pan. Pan, pan is emergency, urgency, and Mayday is grave emergency. So pilot has declared a Mayday. What led to pilot declaring a Mayday is a big question mark. That, having said that, if you remember the PIA crash, which happened around the COVID times, um, the aeroplane made an approach. It attempted to land. Something went wrong. They went around, did a Mayday. They couldn't reach the runway. So looking at the facts as it is available and as we know, and you're going to cover that down the road. As we know, AIB takes its own sweet time to tell the taxpayers and the people of the world what went wrong. It could be
Yeah.
sometimes years. So only way our viewers will know or could know what could have gone wrong is through intelligent analysis based on information that is available, and that is what we are doing right now. So people
So,
who say wait for the inquiry to come out, I would say you can keep waiting till eternity. That
well,
is point number one.
that's the operative part. Sorry, let me just jump in there and bring in Suhel. Suhel, you were the first, I think, today on X to raise the issue of the company that chartered these planes, and that made me your tweet made me do some further digging, and I found that actually. The earlier incident of a plane that had crashed chartered from the same company, and if we can please bring that up, this is the preliminary report that our panel set up to look at crashes had actually put in the public domain in 2023. But that was 2023. We are now in 2026. And your tweet made me examine the fact that in 2026, we do not even have a final report as to why an earlier aircraft from the same charter that leased the plane that has taken down Mr. Pawar and others on board the plane today, our AAIB has yet, 2.5 years later, to submit a final report. And I say this to you on a day when the lawyers for the petitioners in the Air India 171 case in Supreme Court have said it's been months since they filed the case and the AAIB is not responding in the court. So I don't understand what's going on. So, Hale, and thank you for flagging this, because if you hadn't tweeted what you did, I don't think I would have looked at this.
I just hope I don't get that VSR goons after me, but I don't care. I've pissed so many people off. What's another? No, so there are 4 or 5 issues here, to just paraphrase what Augustine said. Number one, when the crash happened in 2023, it was blamed on the weather by the company called VSR. They said it was terrible weather. If you look at the records of the ATC in Bombay of that day, you will observe that regular flying was happening even then. But one thing that is hidden from the public domain, which came out today, is that there was a blast that was reported then by the pilot. There was also a blast that was reported today. People said that there was a blast. Now, Augustine will be able to tell us. So, there are three things that have happened, and you have to understand this. When the pilot did the turn around, the go around, first, Baramati is a fly visual airport. It is aided by the flying school, not by a local ATC there. So there's no, it's by visual flight. From the CCTV footage, which was captured 2.8 kilometers away, it is clear that there was no fog, there was no dense fog, nothing of the sort. Also, it's a tabletop landing. In a tabletop landing, there are only two things that are very critical. One is the alignment of the aircraft with the, perceived length of the runway. And number two, that you don't slide off. The fact that the pilot issued the Mayday is the giveaway. The Mayday would have only been issued by the pilot if there was a blast on the plane, or if there was if it sensed there's an explosion. Look, Augustine will tell you, Mayday is almost like giving up. When the pilot says Mayday, he's telling the world that I will do my best, but there is no hope. That is the most ultimate, signal for impending disaster. The third is, if you see, now this is the problem. There was no cordoning off of the incident, of the area where this incident happened this morning. We are pathetic in our country when it comes to investigation, forensics, everything. The tragedy, Barkha, is that, as you rightly said, 2023 accident, we still don't know what the hell happened. Today, it will be a forgotten milestone. Give it another 3 or 4 months. Where I see hope, if any, is that Ajit Pawar was involved. So it's ironic that you need a VIP to die in order to put the spotlight. Final thing, I used to sit on the Global Advisory Board of British Airways. The first thing you do in a situation like this is you shut the charter operator down pending investigation and inspection of each aircraft in that air charter company's fleet. None has happened. What have we seen? AAIB, those useless people, their people have now gone and raided the VSR office today, seeking documents. I mean, for God's sake, you have to find out 3 things from VSR. 1, structure of the company. 2, funding of the company. 3, where are the common interests? People have told me, I'm not saying this, it's maybe hearsay, it may be a rumor. I've been told that they are hand in glove with the DGCA. Why am I saying this? I've been told. Is it a rumor? May well be. But it gives credence to the fact that these guys have been able to get away scot-free. And they're not alone. Many charter companies are in the same boat. So this is a worrisome thing, Barkha, because who uses these? Politicians, industrialists, both in a manner of speaking are driving the country.
Now, look, this is a very serious thing that you're saying, and I want to explore it a bit further before I come back to Augustine, sir. You say that there are allegations that they're hand in glove with the DGCA. We heard something similar during the Indigo crisis, that there were people in the DGCA that were too soft.
And it was found out they were working from the from the DGCA office.
But we've seen a very minor fee imposed on Indigo. Nothing very major has happened, despite all of that fracas that took place. You have the airline in the government body that is meant to look at airline mishaps, sitting on a crash that takes place from the same charter from 2023. In 2026, all you have is the preliminary report. It's a horrible sense of deja vu, especially when you connect the dots with AI 171 and everybody waiting to see, what's going to happen. Is there something broken in aviation safety in India? Is it time to ask that question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is broken are 2 things. Number 1, the fact that you have a regulator who is either totally incompetent or totally compromised. There can only be these 2 reasons, Barkha. It can't be a third. Number 2, the entire Ministry of Civil Aviation is staffed with bureaucrats rather than aviation experts. That's the problem. And that's a problem universal in India. Our sports bodies have politicians, not sportsmen. Our aviation bodies have politicians or bureaucrats and not aviators. So you have the non-experts talking about expertise. This is what's going to happen. And I feel sad that when the country is doing so well industrially, economically, one of your most critical areas, which is about connectivity, which is about faith, about trust, about mobility, is suffering because of absolute apathy at the hands of the regulator. And here the DGCA is the regulator. Someone needs to take them to task. You tell me, who are the people who take these private jets? The last person from the Supreme Court who took them was Gawai when he landed somewhere, Chief Justice of India. For their own sake, if not for anyone else's, they should take these cases up suo moto as to what is happening with inspection, what is happening with investigation, and what is happening with the final report. A preliminary report, Barkha, is like partial pregnancy. It doesn't exist. You need to have finality. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, those are very strong words, Group Captain Augustine. I want you to react. Again, the CCTV footage is on the screen right now. We'll move to stills of the crash. But the real scandal, as Suhel points out, is the fact that we've had one after the other aviation crisis in the last 12 months. The Air India crash, the Indigo crisis, and now you have this charter plane going down. And now we discover that a 2023 crash, the final report of that crash is not in the public domain. There is going to be no sort of accountability sought. There was a lot of noise during the Indigo crisis, but what? It's all a forgotten headline now. Who is going to ask these questions? And there are specific mysterious questions here. What caused this plane to crash? Why did the plane simply not turn back? An election rally, Ajit Pawar could have been told it's not safe to land. What stands out for you as a pilot, sir, Group Captain?
Who's asking this question, Barkha? I think relentlessly, if there is one person who's asking such question is you. And I'm not saying because I'm sitting on your panel and talking to you. You and I offline have spoken about it as well.
Yeah.
That said, and for Suhel's consumption, I am part of, whenever AIB requires me, they can co-opt me for inquiry because I'm that NTSB equivalent air accident investigator, willy-nilly an outside member of AIB, you can say, and done umpteen number of crash investigations, including few fatal crash investigations. So that is the background I'm speaking from, Suhel. With that as the background, I'm taking a leaf from what Suhel said. Crash forensics starts from the crash site, and that is the first thing we went and trampled today. And I covered that in one of the channels. As an AI and as an air crash investigator, I want that place as pristine as possible. Yes, you want to douse the fire and try to take out people. That said, you had empty number. Look at this. Look at this on the screen. From the visitors to reel makers to all and sundry are trampling the, so to say, the crash scene, which is not correct. Secondly, and most importantly, Barkha, is when an aeroplane takes off on a...
look at that. Just for a moment, just look at the crowd at the crash scene. It is bizarre.
There is no police escape. There is no police escape. People can walk in and out.
Yeah.
Suhel, I don't know whether in such a remote area the police has tape to put it. So I don't know. I will to cry or laugh, Barkha, because for
that's
me,
a secondary issue. We don't have SOP.
Yeah.
In any other country, including in America, where sometimes planes crash on streets, because they have so much of this thing, aviation. There is an SOP which is given to the local county.
Absolutely.
As to what has to happen. Even when you're lifting a body, it is said that in the first 15 minutes, you can either make or lose that particular person. We have nothing. Look at the people, they're walking. Not one person has any plastic bag to put necessary evidence in. No one. You just look at it. It tells you about how callous we are.
Yeah. And for me, Barkha is a personal loss because the co-pilot whom you talked about, Sambhuvi, a friend of mine, his daughter, last time I met her was when she was 8 years old. I picked her up from school and dropped her
There
at
she is
the
on the screen.
house.
It is just, yeah, terrible.
And
It's terrible.
I mean, Varsha and my wife and Sambhavi, they were, I mean, almost on the similar time conceived. And I have seen from her from the time she was born to last I met her when she was 8 years old. So it is a very personal loss for me because she's a dear friend's daughter. For
It
me,
is
it's a very, very big.
it is terrible. Can I ask you, Group Captain, before I come to Suhel, as a pilot, what is glaring for you? What's that big question that needs to be asked? That, you know, I agree that forensics are going to have a tough time because everything is trampled upon, the crash scene is compromised. But even so, with the available information put out by the regulator, if we take it at face value, what for you is glaring, Group Captain?
Two things, Barkha. One, I mean, my mom comes from this area. I speak Marathi is my mother tongue. So I was watching a Marathi channel.
Yeah.
One of the eyewitnesses said very clearly, normally eyewitness is 50-50. He can be this way or that way. But one of the eyewitnesses in Marathi was speaking. He said before the crash, he has seen a big ball of fire on the left side of the aeroplane. That ran for a while, but then now it is not running anymore. That particular bite. That and the Mayday call are correlatable, absolutely correlatable. I mean, I have no other way to say it or no other way to sugarcoat it. Therefore, I'm sugarcoating as much as I can to put it out there to say that and for a ball of fire is correlatable. And the way it has impacted on the side and the way it has broken up is that it is to me, it is a high angle of attack impact, which means he could not reach the runway. Third and most important, Sohail pointed that out. Taking off from Mumbai, coming to Baramati for a VFR runway, you have to have 5 kilometers of visibility. Else you cannot take off, forget about coming towards the runway. So for a VFR runway visibility should have been reported 5 kilometers and corroborates with the CCTV footage.
So they've said 3,000 meters. They've said when they were taking off from Mumbai, it was 3,000 meters. But remember, Baramati, that area is surrounded by agricultural land. So what we normally see in flights or in aviation is there is always a dense fog just above the layer of the crop. You will see that when you go to Punjab in winter, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But by the time the plane landed, you can see from the CCTV that has recorded that blast. And as Augustine said, the blast on the left side means it's an engine blowout or a blow up. We don't know, but that's what it's most likely. And it hasn't even touched the surface. So here's the thing. The engine, the aircraft has not touched the surface. There's a blowout.
You can see it on the CCTV.
There you are. There you are.
Yeah, you can actually see the ball of fire clearly. Yeah.
If you look at the crash side, Barkha, on the left side engine, I am not able to see the engine. Right side engine is intact.
So what does that mean?
The left engine, I don't know whether the left engine caught fire or detached or completely burnt out even before. And the engine might be in Learjet.
So basically, you're saying the engine could have basically gone bust before the landing.
Yes.
Barkha, the engine is on the fuselage, unlike other aeroplanes where it is on the wing. Learjet 45, if the engine blowout happens, the fire comes into the cabin as well as the control surfaces.
Exactly.
Okay. So hey, let me bring. Yeah. Let me bring you in now and come back to this charter. You know, you said that logically this chartered company should be grounded pending investigation. But are you even hopeful, given that they were given 2.5 years and there hasn't even been a final report, that we are going to know answers this time to this crash? There doesn't seem to be anything time-bound about these investigations.
No, and that's because of who we are as a country. We forget easily. And we will let this also pass. It will be forgotten. And it will be buried in reams of bureaucracies and paperwork. The point, Barkha, very simply is that there has been a crash of this magnitude at an airfield which has never reported a crash. You know, I can understand there are certain airfields in the world which are classified as very dangerous or need type rating for the airfield rather than the aircraft. For instance, if you go into Bhutan or if you, even Jolly Grant, I think, has it, where the earlier Hong Kong airport used to have it. You had to be type rated to land at that particular airfield. Here we have not had such reportage. So I don't believe that there will be anything significant that will happen unless the courts step in. But I have to say, with grave responsibility, without casting aspersions, I think the courts are also letting these things go far too
Why?
much and
Why?
far too easily. I guess
Why?
they're inundated. For some strange reason, Barkha, and I say this with the greatest of respect for our judiciary, we have turned the Supreme Court into a court where people apply for bail. It is a court of precedence. It's a court that must prevent the misuse of executive authority as well as judicial oversight. And both these things are not being done for whatever reason. And I guess they too are inundated. But look, they are the only voice that people trust. If the Supreme Court says yes, people trust the Supreme Court. And to that end, I would appeal to the Supreme Court to actually take this matter up suo motu, because it is a matter that impacts not just the Pawar family or the community in Baramati, it impacts brand India, its position in the world as a serious aviation country, and it impacts our first-rate pilots. I will say this to you. When I used to be on the board of British Airways, Willie Walsh was the MD. The only thing he always said about India was, you guys have the finest pilots in the world. Always. Always, without fail. We have first-rate crew. Why should we have a situation where our crew and our brilliant pilots are questioned when actually the fault lies elsewhere, with either maintenance, operations, or complicity?
I just want to end with the last comment from you, Suhel, because you said the regulator is either compromised or incompetent. There is a problem with the DGCA. And then there is a problem downwards. There seems to be a problem with the AAIB as well, because it doesn't seem to be delivering either reports that withstand public scrutiny, as has happened with AI 171, or they don't seem to be delivering the reports at all, which is what we've seen now with the previous charter from a previous crash from the same charter that has crashed today. So on the regulator, what would you say?
I would say that the regulator now needs to start regulating, because the trust of the people of the sector that they are regulating has completely vanished. B, the impunity with which certain travel operators, air charter operators behave, they are indicative of the fact that they have been able to compromise the DGCA. Not a good reputation for the DGCA to have. See, Barkha, the point is, if I believe I can get away with DGCA, that belief in itself is indicative of the fact that they are untrustworthy. So for their own good, their own credibility, and for the sake of brand India, for the sake of our country, the DGCA needs to recalibrate and to regenerate trust in the people. Today, no one trusts the DGCA, and it's not a happy position for anyone to be in, least of all the DGCA.
Well, we'll end with that somber thought. The fact is this. Today, as Suhel said, it is a VIP, a politician who has tragically died. So there will be noise and questions for a while. But will this too become a forgotten headline? Will the months pass with no questions asked or answered? And even if the questions are asked, if the questions don't get truthful answers, what is the point? I'll quote to you what the 91-year-old father of the pilot who went down in Air India 171 said to me. He said, it's not about my son. My son is dead. It's about the safety of every passenger who gets onto a plane in India. Until we think of this issue as something that concerns us all, we will not ask the questions that need to be asked. We will not seek the accountability that needs to be sought. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to learn from both of you. Suhel, Dr. Augustine, thank you. And to our audience, thank you very much. A grim day, a grim reminder of all that is broken in India's aviation space. We'll keep our eyes on this story. Thank you for watching. See you soon.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.